you won't get any time to learn German or do anything besides your studies. So I had to learn it from India. I have applied to like more than 15 universities, and for the first phase, they were really rejecting me. Most of the university required a certain amount of credit points, which would be a very difficult task for a bachelor, which is of 3 years.
A 3 year degree student has to put in a lot more effort. And one of the primary things we tell them is to. So, please, for those who do not know you, just kind of introduce yourself. What's your name? Where do you come from? And just start with the basic stuff.
Okay, so hello everyone, and thank you for you to invite me in this meeting. Myself, I'm Sahil Limbu. I'm from Nepal, but I've completed my education from India. I'm pursuing my master's in physics in FSU Jena, Frederiksberg University of Jena. So yeah,
When you say you have finished your education in India, can you just elaborate? Are you talking only about bachelor's or have you done your schooling also in India?
from class 7 till my bachelor's, I have done my education from India itself, from northeastern part of India called Meghalaya.
Oh, that's very interesting. I'd like to know a bit more of how you actually came into choosing, or is it something that your parents kind of led you in that direction, or how did you come about that? How did you come to India at a very
Uh,
young age, you know?
Yeah, it was actually my parents. They have migrated from Nepal to India for a work-related yeah thing. So since they were there, they told me to come here because relatively the education system in India is quite good as compared to Nepal. So yeah, that's
So
why
basically,
I
you had the experience of moving to a different country right when you were in like 12, 13 years old, right? So this was what you had
yeah.
right now. Coming to Germany is not the first time that they're doing it. For a lot of students who are probably listening to this, it's probably the first time that they're doing a complete shift, leaving home, but you have already done that.
I guess you can say that, but the environment in India is it's similar to Nepal, so I haven't felt that kind of intimidation which I'm feeling right now in Germany. So yeah,
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand because that's why they call it the Indian subcontinent, right? Because pretty much
yeah,
like yeah, maybe culturally some things change, but like the environment is kind of the same. Like especially if you move from Nepal to the northeastern part, there's not a lot of difference. Like it's still mountainous regions. Yeah, so I would
yeah.
assume that it's pretty similar. So how was the experience? What did you end up studying in your bachelor's actually? Was it a BSc in physics?
Uh, yeah, it was BSc in physics. I was always fascinated for science and technologies. So for that I choose science for my class 10, for my class 12. And while moving on that journey, actually my teacher suggested me to go to physics because I was kind of good in maths and physics. So, following their path, I pursued physics, and while studying my bachelor's degree, I developed this interest in solid state physics and nanotechnology. So, yeah, currently I'm pursuing my bachelor's degrees, which I'm planning to specialize on solid state physics or um, courses which are related to micro and nanotechnologies.
Is just the course name which you have, which you're doing currently? Can you just tell the course name, or is it just a
Yeah,
physics?
yeah, it's a master's in physics, but they have four specializations within them. They have astronomy and astrophysics, and then theoretical physics, gravitational physics, and then there's one called solid state physics and material science. So I'm more inclined towards solid state physics and material science, and within that solid state physics and material science, I'm more interested towards micro and nanotechnology. So yeah.
Personally, I've always had a fascination with astronomy, gravitation, astrophysics, and stuff like that. So, if three out of the four specializations are being offered in that direction, I would have gone in that direction if I had done a bachelor's in physics. But yeah, it's good that you found a course which is towards the line. But I think we are jumping quite ahead to the master's level. So, can you tell me when did you graduate your bachelor's? Which year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2022. I started my bachelor's in 2019. I think it was in June. And then I completed my bachelor's degree in 2022, around the month of June, July.
Yeah. And when did you have this certain like interest about wanting to pursue a master's, and specifically Germany? Like when did this interest come about for you?
So this is quite an interesting story. Actually, I was planning to go to Japan for my master's degree because
Hmm.
Japan is currently a leading country in the field of science and technology. So since I have been studying in India, but I am a citizen of Nepal, so my documentation was not complete. Like the we call it Nagarita, the citizen certificate. So that
Yeah.
was not done. My passport was not done. So after completing my bachelor's degree, I went to Nepal to get those documentation done. And at the
Hmm.
same time, I was applying to Japan. But due to some unfavorable reason, I was not admitted to Japan. And Japan only takes intake in October. So during the
Okay.
time, I was thinking what to do and how to do, and then actually, it was my father who suggested me to take this Bharat's course.
Mhm.
After researching a bit, and then after hearing all the stories, success stories and all, I decided to
Yeah.
take Bharat's course, and then considering all the
I
factors,
mean,
I choose Germany.
Sahil, I think you're downplaying your achievements, because just to think about this, that a lot of students are not even exposed to the idea of studying masters outside India, let alone, like, okay, let's not say only India, but outside their home country, let alone someone who first had the choice of going to the east, not even to the west. Like, although I would say Japan is more a westernized country, it's a very heavily
Yeah.
industrialized westernized country. I'm really curious, how did you come about the idea of Japan? Like, there's a question of exposure, right? Me and Bharat talked about this in our podcast also, of how students, at different stages of their life get exposed to different things, and that is what forms the decisions and the ideas and the philosophy which they have. So I'm really curious, how did you come across Japan as a very potential? Yes, we know that it's good in technology, but how did you, as a student sitting in Meghalaya, sitting in your bachelor's classes, come across going to Japan as an option for you?
So during my bachelor's degree, I have been exposed to different, as you said, I have been exposed to different kind of things. I was planning on pursuing like UPSC. I was planning on doing UPSC as well, but
Hmm.
there has been a lot going on like during my bachelor's degree. So UPSC seems to be quite hard for me because I'm not that brilliant of student. So and then coming to why I choose Japan for my master's degree, uh, I was basically, it might be a silly answer, but I like anime very much, and I was really inspired by their culture, and I thought, researching here and there, I thought, why not Japan? Because it's one of the world's leading country and all. So
No, I don't think it's a silly reason though, because you, even though you think you're coming at from a very funny perspective, you're still making a right choice, right? You may not end up going there because of some other reasons, but your logic about thinking that Japan is very well structured for science and technology, that's not a bad estimate. That is the truth, right? So that's really
yes.
fascinating to me that you were inspired by anime and you wanted to go in. And a lot of people that I know who like anime are only restricted themselves to liking anime and watching more anime, or getting their friends to watch more anime. Like, I have a friend here
Yeah.
who's like, you have to watch anime. But I think you're one of the very few people, or maybe only the only person I know who's like, okay, I saw anime, so now I want to go and study in Japan.
The anime was a connecting factor, but there was different factors like the advancement in technologies and also, yeah.
Sahil, so was the only reason that you were not able to process the documents properly in time the reason that you switched away from Japan?
I was planning on applying again to Japan, but Japan only takes international student on October intake. So
Yeah.
I have a huge gap between this October and that October. So during that time, you can say I was devastated by the reason I was not able to go to Japan. So
Hmm.
while having a conversation with my family, my father came up with this idea that I should focus like on other things and not do that particular thing. So while doing research and all, I came across video of Bharat, and then while doing research, I came to know about Germany. And I think the main reason to choose Germany as my destination was the tuition fees, because
Yes.
yeah.
Now we come to the most common reason why a lot of students, and it's not a bad reason. That's why I also chose Germany. Sorry. Um, but yeah, that is really fascinating to me. So just to put a timeline on things, so when you say October intake, I'm assuming the first time that you applied to Japan was for the October intake of 2022, right?
No, actually, October intake of 2023, because remember I told you I didn't get my documentations done.
Okay. So
So
the 1 year between 22 and 23 you spent in getting the documentation done properly. Okay.
yeah, I spent on getting the documentation done. I learned Japanese as well, but then
Oh, you learned Japanese.
yeah, basic level till N5 I studied around 6 months. But then after
A
leaving
lot.
that
6 months
course,
is a lot.
yeah, after getting away from that exposure, I'm not quite sure I would be able to speak or not now. But yeah,
I would say 6 months is a lot to put into a language where the way of writing itself is quite different. It's a very symbolic language, right? It's based a lot on symbols
yeah.
and pictorial depictions of the alphabet, which is a big thing. So that's good that you were able to at least spend time. You had the interest to do it. So now coming back to the timeline, which means you tried for October of 2023. I'm assuming you tried 6 to 7 months before that, right? So somewhere in the start of 2023
Yeah.
is when you were applying,
And end of
and you knew that.
2022 and start. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Please continue. End of
Uh,
2022.
yeah, I basically started at November, I think, because till then all the documentation were done. Yeah, from November till the October.
I mean, you still, if you had known about Germany at that time, you could have still tried for the October intake, but it would have rushed
Mhm.
things too much. So I think stuff happens for a reason at the right time that it does. So, okay, so now we are up to, let's say, March of 2023. So I would assume you spent a couple of months deciding that you don't want to now only stick with Japan. And now, because of your father suggesting, let's try Germany, which is why I would assume from like the middle of 2023, you started looking into Germany, right?
So, yeah, from the middle of 2022, I started looking at the Germany. My dad was really inspired by Bharat. He said, "This guy knows stuff, so you should definitely try his videos and stuff." So, after doing all those things, I guess Germany is not a bad country. Like, there has been histories about Germany in the field of science and technology. So, after doing a bit of
Yeah.
research and going here and there, I decided I have to go to Germany.
Now, the biggest thing that I think students will be very interested in, and I'm not sure how much aware of, I think we have had certain conversations over the email, that 3 years bachelor's is definitely possible for you to do a master's in Germany, but it just means that you have to put a lot of effort in when you're doing the applications, right? And when is
Yes,
the
yes.
first time you realized that with the 3 years bachelor's, it's going to be not a straightforward path for you to come to Germany? When is the first time did you realize that?
After watching all the videos from the course, I thought it would be a straightforward process, like 4 year bachelor's and 3 years bachelor's. But during the application process, I came to know that it is not that straightforward, because what university requires is they require a certain amount of CP, which is very difficult for the 3 years bachelor's to fulfill. Like there are universities which requires like small amount of CP credit points, but most of the university require a certain amount of credit points, which would be a very difficult task for a bachelor, which is of 3 years. So
Just for people who are not clear about it, what Sahil is trying to say is that a lot of universities in Germany require at least 180 credits or 180
yeah.
ECTS. ECTS is the European Credit
Mm,
Transfer System, which,
yeah.
if you have a 4 year bachelor's in India, it directly translates to roughly around 180 ECTS, which means if you have a 4 year bachelor's, you should be qualified to study in most of the courses. Now, even there is a caveat. Even for people who have a 4 year bachelor's, there are very few universities who ask for 210 ECTS,
Yeah.
which means Students with the 4 years bachelor's will find it tough to apply even for those type of programs. So can you imagine where Sahil was coming from, who has a 3 year bachelor's? And the reason why a 3 years bachelor's or a 4 years bachelor's doesn't count for the same is because in India we have 12-year schooling system. Okay. Whereas in Germany there's a 13-year schooling system, which means the
Mm.
first year of bachelor's technically doesn't count. So
Yeah,
Sahil, in effect, had only 2 years of bachelor's, right? Which means it's
yeah,
roughly just 120 ECTS. If you convert it roughly, I
mm.
would say rule of thumb, it's only 120 ECTS which Sahil had. Which means any university which is asking for 180 ECTS straight away will reject him, right? And
Mm.
I would assume,
Yeah.
Sahil, there is one situation, one state of mind which a lot of students who are having a 3 year degree will face, which I think you would have faced, is that you feel there is no hope for you. You would have felt somewhere in your process that you realized, okay, I don't know what I can do. I don't know if I can ever study. Did that moment come for you?
The application phase, like I have applied to like more than 15 universities, and for the first phase, they were really rejecting me, stating that my ETCS is not enough for me to pursue my master's degree. And also at that time I thought this is not going to make it. So fortunately I was able to message FSU Jena, convincing them that I have completed this criteria, and then I have uploaded all my syllabus to them. I will be able to pursue my master's degree because I have I have completed this quantum mechanics for 6 months, and then yeah, doing all those I mailed them. So this actually is my second chance, because at first they have already rejected me. I was mailing to all the offices, saying that if there is anything I could do from my side to convince the admission department that I should get the admission and all. And at the moment of time, they told me that if you are able to convince us that you have completed certain CP in certain like courses, something like something which is related to physics, something like quantum mechanics or solid state physics. So they might consider your application, and then um, I made a proper document stating I have completed this covering this much topics, and then I mailed them. I requested them to, yeah. I think it was a move from my desperation to get admission to certain university.
And you have done the right move. Let me tell you that this is what we tell a lot of students. And I would say a lot of students, they don't want to put in that effort. I'm not going to mince my words. Yes, with a 3 year degree, you can study. But like we have already told, it's a difficult process in the sense that the steps that a 4 year degree student will take in order to secure an admit is not the same as a 3 year degree student. A 3 year degree student has to put in a lot more effort. And one of the primary things we tell them is to mail the universities. Some
Yeah,
students, and I don't want to mince my words here, some students don't want to do that, and you can see the result, you can see the live result. Yeah, Sahil is living proof that you can actually study a master's in Germany even if you have a 3 year degree. The only thing you have to do is be ready to put in any efforts. So I'm not sure, Sahil, if you ever emailed us about this particular issue. I do remember a lot of emails from you, but I don't remember about this particular issue. But just as a recap, let me list down a few of the points which I think really will be helpful, and you can add something from your side which you think helps a 3 year degree person. So, first thing, mail the universities. Mail them, tell them that this is what your situation is. This is much before even applications, I would say. Before you even get a rejection, mail the universities and tell them, look at this is my background profile. I have a 3 year degree, which means I do not technically have the minimum ECTS, but I feel personally that I have done the credits. This is how I can prove the credits, and this is how you have to mail the universities. A lot of universities will respond to emails, be it positive or be it negative.
what I have come across from my experience is that yeah, people from Germany are quite helpful. They try to help you. So unless you ask them to help them, they will help you in this way or around.
Which means you have, if you take the first step, someone will be willing to help you out. But the onus is upon you to take the first step, right? So that's the first thing you have to do is email universities. Second thing, talk to other students who have done the same thing as you. Did you ever do that, Sahil? I always suggest to my students that, see, you're not the first person, neither will you be the last person who's going to do a master's coming from the type of bachelor's that you did. So I always tell students, find students who are studying in the courses and the universities where you want to study, who are come from a similar background, and talk to them. Talk to them. How did they apply? How did they approach? And try to find out the information from them. And you can do this through professional networking sites like LinkedIn, right? So, Sahil, did you ever try that? Did you ever try to get in touch with someone?
Right, there are multiple groups in WhatsApp who who makes a group within the community helping others. But what I find very helpful is the Bharat in Germany, the big Facebook community, which was a big help to me, and I would like to give shout out to each and every person who are in there because during my struggling phase, there were people from big family who actually helped me, who mailed me personally, trying to solve my problem, investing their times with me. So
You don't even have to be a part of the big academy students community to get into that group. That's a separate group. But I would say even the main group which we have on Facebook, which has like 40 or 50,000 students at this point, that group is also very active and very helpful, right? You would agree with that, right,
yeah,
Sahil?
people from other field, like if you try to get in connect with some alumni people in LinkedIn and stuff, they would be kind of busy, and it would be quite silly for you to wait for one answer for 2 to 3 days. So yeah, getting into that
Yeah.
kind of group, getting into that kind of group, which would be helpful, which is engaging to you, would be a big step toward coming to Germany. I think so. Yeah.
I would slightly disagree with you, Sahil. Yes, people don't generally tend to respond as well on LinkedIn or professional networking sites because they're very busy. But that's where I think you have to use the law of averages. That is, instead of writing to one or two people, write to like 15 people. Because when I was applying, I remember the course that I'm studying, I had a template message which I wanted to send, and I just found like 15 or 20 seniors, and I sent the same template message to everyone. And luckily, at least like 7 or 8 responded, out of which 2 or 3 continued the conversation. And gained some really useful insights. You did these steps and you got a positive response from FSU Yana, right?
After apart from FSU, I got admission from four other universities, from KIT, from Kassel, and I think from Leipzig, FSU, and one university I forgot its name, but yeah, it was basically acceptance letter from five universities.
What made you choose Jena finally? Is it the first one which you got and you chose it already, or is it based on the course? How did you end up choosing Jena?
It was actually the first, and I then started with my visa process. But then again, while analyzing other courses, I find FSU to be a perfect university for me because FSU is particularly known for its field in optical things. So me, me who is interested in the field of nanotechnology, nanomaterial, and nanomaterial, I believe that I could use my inspiration and the knowledge I gained from FSU to invest myself in some kind of optical industries. So for that only, I choose Yena.
That's always the type of choice that we tell students to make. Don't make the choice. If you have the luxury of making choices between admits, I always tell students to look at the content of the course, what that course means for your career, and what that means for the industry at large, and what industries surround that particular city. Don't make it just based on the name or just based because some friend is studying there. That's it's not their life that you're living, it's your life, right? So I'm really glad, Sahil, that you were able to make that decision based on the type of course that you have. Now you have an admit, you applied for the visa, you obviously got the visa, you come here. Any issues in the visa process, or any delays or
Yeah,
any challenges which you faced?
it was a big challenge because since I came from since my I have done my bachelor's from India and I am a citizen of Nepal, there was quite a lot of problem I faced during my visa process. First thing was during the APS process, during the APS phase, if I actually need the APS or not. So I had to mail both the embassy for that kind of stuff, and then I tried to mail both the embassy, and they were generous enough to provide me with all the information. So for doing that, I have to apply for APS, and then the visa process in Nepal is completely different from India. So those were the challenges I faced during my visa process.
I like students to please note what Sahil just said. Sahil said he had issues, but he mailed the consulate. Like, even the consulate he had to mail, the embassy he had to mail and get. See, that's the most important thing that I'm going to say is a takeaway for you. You may not be in the same field as what Sahil is. You may not be in the same journey as what Sahil is. But remember one thing: if you mail and ask people, the least they could do is just respond by saying, I cannot help you. They will direct you somewhere else. But the best thing that you can do is get a solution, right? So don't hesitate in emailing people. And that's a skill which you have to develop. It's not a skill that everyone has from the get go. Do not worry. Even I didn't have that when I was studying in a bachelor's. It's a skill that you slowly have to develop. And it's a skill that's very valuable because once you come to Germany, Sahil, you will realize this in the over the next coming months. You realize that a lot of things here do not get told to you unless you ask them about it. So if you
Yeah.
have to ask them, you have to learn how to write emails and ask them about it. So I would say this is a very small tangent, but it's a lesson that you should learn. So that's good. So you had some challenges, but obviously you got through the challenges for the visa. You got the visa, and I think you came in the first week of April, right? We were supposed to do this conversation in the first week of April itself, but yeah, there was some other reasons we couldn't do it. We had to postpone it, and now we are on the third week of April where we're having this conversation. So I'm assuming you have been in Germany for around 3 weeks now.
Yeah,
How has
yeah.
it been?
During the first week, I was like, I was doing some work, and then there was still light going on here. It's still a daylight, so I was doing some work, and then a friend came over me and was like, "You won't cook?" And I was like, I think it's only four." And when I looked at what, it was already 8:15. So
How are you adjusting to the new education system? How are you adjusting to a new university system?
is actually quite hard because the education system which we are getting from India it is completely different from the education system which we will be getting from Germany because uh, during for years semester you need I don't know about other universities for FSU you need to completely structureize your semester like if you want to take this much course or if you want to take this much course you need to select you need to select topics which you find interesting. You need to mail the professors saying that please requesting them to admit in your courses and stuff like that. So yeah, there has been a hectic, I would say a hectic weeks for me because mailing the professor, getting approval from them, and then collecting all the materials here and there would be yeah.
Personally, I am of the opinion that the type of course where you're suggesting, which is very independent, right? It's very student based, that student
Yeah.
has to make the choice of what they want to study,
Mhm.
how they want to structure. I think that is very good because it makes you think why are you doing a particular subject, right? If you get a very structured schedule that you have to study these things, you'll turn off your brain and you'll just go and study these things and you'll not try to connect one subject to the other. Whereas if I feel the way you're saying, no, you have to make the choices, that is much better because every subject that you choose you have chosen with intention, which means you know exactly why are you doing that subject. And that I
Mm.
think is more valuable in masters because you have very little time. In masters is just a 3 or 4 semester course, which means you're doing very less number of subjects as compared to bachelors, which means each subject that you choose is more valuable and more
Yeah.
impactful on your final specialization. So I'm really glad that you are able to get accustomed to this type of study because it's going to be very helpful for you, and trust me, because in my course it's not as flexible as yours, but we still have enough flexibility where I feel every student, if you pick in my course, is doing something completely different. That's because they have structured it in a very different way, and I have seen people struggle with that type of a freedom, and I've seen people excel with that type of freedom also. So I would suggest, always think, why am I doing a particular subject, how is that useful for my interest and stuff like that. So always make the choice based on that.
I would like to give suggestion to people who are coming to Germany. Yeah, first thing, yeah, people who are planning to come to Germany, as you have told, you should learn how to like mail them, and you shouldn't be afraid what the reply would be. And the second thing, which I completely neglected, would be learning German.
100%, that is a very important thing. I always keep stressing, learn German, because if you do not put in the effort when you're back home, you will struggle to put the effort when you're here because there are so many other things you have to do.
That was my mindset as well. Like once I get to Germany, I'll start learning. But then looking at the timetable and stuff, you won't get any time to learn German or do anything besides your studies. So. Yeah, try to learn it from India as
So thank you, Sahil. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your journey. I think it's going to be really helpful for a lot of students, and I hope that they take away something from this, and you also kind of are rejuvenated, that you kind of made an impact on some people, and you take this towards the next few semesters which you are here, and try to finish your masters in the best way possible. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you so much.